We are at Turning Point USA, and thank you again for tuning into my show. But right now, I'm with a gentleman by the name of Gentry Gevers? Gevers, okay, I knew I was going to get it wrong again. Well, Gentry, what brings you to the Turning Point Festival here?
I've been coming to Turning Point events for about 5 years. I love it. To be honest, it's kind of like adult summer camp in a way.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you get to meet a whole bunch of people that are like-minded. If you're from a really liberal city like I was from Seattle, now I live in Charlotte, but when I lived in Seattle, come here, it's like a breath of fresh air. Because everyone's conservative. Obviously, we're going to have some different views on some things, but we're going to always agree that woke is bad, transing kids is bad, kind of all the common sense stuff.
Right.
So it's a breath of fresh air. I love Turning Point events.
So you and I have a lot in common, it sounds like, on conservative issues, being a little anti-woke.
Yeah.
But where I try to bring everybody to the middle, so to speak, is not because I want you to give up your ideologies, not that I'm giving up my ideologies, but I also believe that even woke people, even people that consider themselves liberals, don't realize how conservative they actually are. And what I find when you talk to more people at Turning Point, that there's values here that more people would share if they didn't think we were the enemy, so to speak. So what I say is, what values do you find at Turning Point that might bring more people over here and maybe go, wow, wait a minute, being conservative isn't bad.
Yeah.
And I'll let you answer that question before I do.
I think the messaging around taxes needs to be better because I don't think people realize how much they're actually paying in taxes. Sure, like income tax, like that's a big chunk, and then you're paying gas tax, property tax, excise tax, capital gains, whatever tax that they're going to add next. And I think if we message it that you're actually keeping your money that you make, that would be fantastic. And I don't even think people realize that, like all the taxes that your company pays on payroll. So like there's so much that the government is just taking and really not giving a ton of value on. And I think if people kept more of their money and we message it like that, I think that would be a winning issue.
Because I believe that if we really promote, like you say, that's why having a minute conversation with you before I realized you're on this, is if we start talking and messaging the values of conservatism, the values that TPUSA preaches, like at events like this, I think more people might not be so much anti-conservative, they might be less pro-woke, and realize that less taxes is a good thing, Christian values are a good thing, and what other values do you think that we bring together to the table?
Well, I think Turning Point has done a really good job of promoting family. Charlie, when his mission was to get young men to step up, take accountability, not blame anybody else for their lot in life, even though there might be a valid reason, but you don't want to act like a victim.
Exactly.
And so he would always preach, get married, go to church, have kids, build a legacy, and I think that could be really, really appealing to some people on the left. I feel like there's a whole bunch of center-left people that are really disenfranchised with the Democratic Party right now.
Right.
They see what's happening with New York and Mamdani. They're seeing what's happening in some of these other states. Like California is a great example. Everyone's leaving California, even though California is the best state. Politics aside, taxes aside, if you kick up at Huntington Beach, and you have a cup of coffee and you look out of the pier and you watch the waves, it's one of the best spots in the world. And I've been to Hawaii, I've been to Bali, I've been all over. It's one of the best spots in the entire world because it's America. But I think that honestly, if we message it the right way, and like we're all about truth, right? But if we speak the truth in love, I think that'll go a lot farther. And it's hard because you're not talking to someone over social media. It's just in the comments, so it's really easy to snap back. I'm guilty of it, right?
Exactly.
I'm very guilty of it.
I am too, all the time.
I've been in my comments way too much. But yeah.
Well, it's funny because I catch myself sometimes. Like I'll go far right sometimes, and I find myself promoting values that are far right, but then when I listen to people that are on the left sometimes, and I have friends who are Democrats, and I meet somebody who considers themselves liberal and woke, and I start talking about less taxes, family values, and you start talking about community, having a safe community and good education, people don't realize those are all conservative values, and you're right, the messaging brings it over. And if you go back to the time of Edmund Burke, and you go back to the late 1700s, 1800s, when conservatism was seeing a revival in not only strengthening families but communities, we find, I think, the secret to building back America and making America not only great again, but preserving it for the young people that might need to be waking up, so to speak, to conservative values. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, I would, and maybe even like the branding conservative and the branding Republican, because the Democrats do such a good job of lying about what we're saying, and we're always reacting to it, right? And we're saying, no, we're not about that. We don't want a theocracy. We don't want fascism or whatever. And so I think that one of the things we could do is be forward about it and say, like, here's who we are, and we're not going to bend on any of these things. We might be able to bend on some things that aren't like first tier issues, right? Because we don't live in a utopia.
Right.
We're never going to. There's always going to be people with different opinions. But I think if we're more offensive, meaning we're playing offense, not being offensive. If we play offense a little bit more instead of defense, and we're not on the back foot.
Instead of being caught on our heels all the time and reacting, be more proactive about positive messaging that puts us out there. I ask everybody that I interview, one big question on my show is, where do you think we are losing freedom the most in America?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think we're losing freedom in the idea of the American dream. In a lot of ways.
That's a great answer.
I think Trump is doing everything he can to try to make housing affordable, to try to make life affordable, because that's really what it boils down to, right? If you go to the grocery store and pay like 2 or 3 times what you did under the last administration or whatever, you're going to be pissed off, and then you're going to fall into a lot of the messaging that the left has. And so I would say that the freedom we're losing is the idea of the American dream, affordability, housing, having a family. This is expensive right now.
Right.
Yeah. Trump's doing a really good job with gas prices.
Oh, I tell you what, look, I support Trump's policies. I think that he's certainly moving the country in the right direction.
Yeah.
Or let's say the correct direction, because sometimes being right isn't being correct, but I think he's moving the country in the correct direction on a lot of his fiscal policies, especially. Sometimes people don't agree with how he says things or what he says, but when you can realize that it's the conservative movement getting behind some of his conservative policies is better for everybody, it's best. Yeah. Any final words for us, Gentry?
Go to church. Go find a Bible-believing church, one that's not woke, one that doesn't have rainbow flags. Go to church. I don't care if it's Protestant, Lutheran, Catholic, Orthodox, whatever. Just go to church, get involved in community, and serve the church, because I think that's the church is a vehicle that God's going to use to save our land.
I love that. Gentry, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. And everybody else, if you find someone that you think is interested in this message, please share the message. And also, you'll find me on all podcast apps at William Wallace for America. Thank you so much.